Thank you for taking interest in a Fehr cab interiors cab kit. Today we're going to do a John Deere 4450 demonstration video on how to put it in. Here's the cab interior before we started. It's getting a little ratty and it's falling down. Here's what we hope it looks like when it's all said and done today. Good luck to us. Here's the old parts beforehand, and here's the parts we're going to put in. Here's some clip shots of taking out all the hardware, the seats, ashtrays, control panels, radios, speakers, headliner parts, and the whole 9 yards. Takes a little bit of time pulling out the old parts. Here's the dash assembly removal. Now we're going to just yank out all the old foam. Just pretty much whatever is left inside the cab, just totally remove it. Pretty quick process, just a little bit dirty. One thing that's important with cab interiors job is to read all the instructions and follow all the guidelines before starting. Grab a putty knife and scrape out all the old foam. You'll note the safety equipment I'm using throughout this video to try to provide a safest environment. Grab a side grinder with a wire wheel on the end and start buffing down all the metal surfaces. Getting in to the edges as close as you can with the wire wheel first. Sometimes it can be a very dangerous job, but be careful of the brush at the end, it will hurt you. And grab a straight edge like a screwdriver and scrape out in all the tight corners and remove all the debris that is still stuck that you couldn't get with the wire wheel. And then grab a shop vac and sweep everything out, or an air compressor with an air hose works well too. This is a little bit easier than an air hose, I believe. Wipe down the surfaces with a rag. I use a damp rag. Now we're going to start dry fitting the corner posts in this cab kit. This is the John Deere part number JD50P as in Paul. Have to make a few minor cuts on here to make it fit a little better. We make them all the same for different variations of different models. Dry fit the part, get it put in place. Now we're going to move on to the right hand front post. Cut out this little cutout for around the mirror. Makes it a little easier instead of removing the mirror. Dry fit it into place, get familiar with where the part goes. Now this is the rear post on the left hand side, the right hand side is the exact same but opposite. Shake up your glue for about 2 minutes. There's a tip on the end that is high and low. For the bigger surfaces put it on high, and for the smaller surfaces put it on a lower stream. Make sure you get close to the edge on these posts because that edge is going to be holding in place up against the corner of the cab. I put the glue tip on low here so that way I don't spray all over the place, all over the windows. You can mask them, however I just prefer to just be careful and try not to get any glue sprayed everywhere other than where it belongs. We're going to start fitting this right hand front post into place. Get it lined up. We're going to put it around this grommet where the window latch is on. Get it lined up on the back hand side. Follow that up along the edge where it's going to make a 90-degree angle. Get that square and flush along that edge. Bring it around to the front. You'll note I'm not smoothing it on too hard right now because I want to make sure it's in the proper location before I start pressing it into place. You'll also note I started gluing these parts while they were still wet so I could still move them back if I need to. If you start applying them when it's too dry, it's very hard to remove it and start over. Now I'm going to smooth everything into place. It's all in contacted, and wrap it around the edges. And this post part should be complete. Grab a screwdriver and press it into the corners. Now we're going to put the front hand left post in. This piece we had previously glued, so it's ready to be just stuck into place. Going to line it up on the back side and bring it all the way up to the top. Make sure it's lined up correctly. Since I had dry fit this part previously, I realized where the part needed to be. I made little marks of lining up in the proper locations. Get it smoothed up against that edge and then curl it around to the backhand side. Since I got the glue very well on the edge, it's going to stick for a long time. glue all three portions of this post here. You'll note I did not glue inside the V-notch. That is not important. That will hold itself in place. And got all the glue on the metal surfaces, and now we're gonna stick this rear left-hand post. You'll see here how I'm guiding it up there to get it lined up where between those two notch outs. Get it lined up on top, lined up on the bottom. Bring it around to the side. It should go over the top of that grommet where the hole was already previously cut. Wrap it around to the backhand side. You'll note I'm not tugging or pulling too hard. That way the post will make its 90-degree angle precisely. Now we're going to start putting in the headliner. JDHBR. Push the two front push pins in place. Lightly tap on the push pins of the hammer. Put the guide rail or the three side trim rails in. There's three bolts holding each of those in with a 3/8 wrench. I'm going to cut out the hole for the radio. We leave this uncut in case you don't want to put your radio back in. You'll note I'm using the old part to determine where the light location was at. Get the proper cutout for this. Tap the 8 push pins into place. Clean off the air door with a wire wheel again. And use a double application of glue on any headliner parts. It's very important because gravity will take effect and make them fall down, so you use a heavy dose of glue on any headliner parts you have to glue in. Really press it into place. Now we're going to put a seal above the air door. About 15 feet is what we're going to use here. There's different lengths and different portions of the air door where there's foam to seal it off. This will help hold it in, or help keep the air sealed inside the cab better for the air conditioner to work properly. Screw up the air door. We're going to screw in all the control panels that we had previously removed. I took note when I took out the parts of where these parts went, which screws went where, and now we're going to put the lower parts in. We're going to dry fit the parts first. Get familiar with where the parts go. Same concept that we did on the post. Just line everything up, make any little cuts you think you might need to do. This year I made a cut there just to make that slide around that seat adjuster. Getting familiar with all the parts. I'm not going to show you all the parts of how to dry fit, but I will show you how to put them all in. Just the concept of getting familiar. Using a low stream of glue on this smaller part, get the foam glued. Outside the cab is usually better. And glue the metal surface. Get this part stuck into place. You'll note I'm gluing it, or I'm sticking it shortly after I glued. This way I can still move the part and readjust it if I need to. Get it tucked into place. Flap laid up over the top. Get that pressed into place. Gonna glue this other part here. Get this part ready to put in. Gluing the metal and the foam thoroughly in the location where it belongs. Corner hump piece is a challenge to put in. It's a matter of starting it in the right spot, and it should all fall into place with the cutouts in the proper locations on the backhand side we provide for you. Slide that up to the top, press it into place, line it up down here on this bottom corner, slide it into position. Here's a concept we call tucking and rolling. Take the top portion of the vinyl and tuck it around to the backhand side. This will allow for a smoother finished look when that left hand wall tucks up beside that. Pressing it into place. Press out all the wrinkles if any develop. Try to work them to the outside while the glue is still wet. You can still do this a lot easier. Pressing the parts into place. Now we're going to put the other part in this back right hand corner. We had previously glued it, so it's ready to stick into place. Again, just working with the part. You know, have a little patience and it should come into place for you. Continue pressing it, smooth it up flush along the top hand side. We're going to put this other corner hump piece in, line it up along that other part that we previously put in. Work it into place. tuck it around the edge, bring it up to the top side. Go back and reapply the parts you had previously glued, whether you know that they're stuck. Gluing the left under seat piece in here. Note the 1-inch gap I left, that's for that part to tuck down underneath that rail by the floorboard. Positioning it around this seat adjuster. Bringing the part up, making sure it's flush with the cutout on the backhand side. And moving it, or positioning it up close next to the corner hump piece. It should fit right flush to it. Using a screwdriver to tuck it down underneath that ledge. Note it's easier without the glue on the foam. This part here, I had previously glued the bottom portion of the part by my left hand, and this way I'm going to do this part in sections instead of trying to do it all at one time. The part's glued on the bottom, now I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to glue the foam and the metal. Instead of trying to do this part all at one time, it's a lot easier. It's not as cumbersome on you. It makes it a lot easier to position it into place. Get it lined up. Bring it flush up against that side control panel. Bring it all the way to the back. Crease it up against the back piece here, and then tuck and roll it into that other part. And really smooth the other parts you had previously done, constantly going back and reapplying all the parts you had done. You're going to glue in these little foam fillers. A lot of kits get these foam fillers that aren't seen when the cab is done. They sort of fill in gaps. You're going to glue the foam in the metal, get the part lined up, get it positioned into place. I should have probably removed those control panels there above my hands. However, you can get by without it if you've done this enough. I'll make a little slice here for this to fit down here along this edge. Should have done that when I dry fit it. We're going to do the tuck and roll concept again and bringing it up against that corner hump piece. Wrapping it around the backhand side and then forcing it by the spot where I tucked it behind, and that'll hold it in place. Note the wrinkle is developing in the middle of that part. I'm smoothing it out by forcing the wrinkle to the outside. Tucking the part into place. The screwdriver, getting it underneath that ledge. Just keep working the part up, and it should force the wrinkles out that have developed as you put the part in. As long as you keep pressure on it and move them to the outside, it should remove the wrinkles. This part here, we're going to use a concept of putting the part in the position where it belongs and pulling the part back and gluing in behind. And this part we're just going to do half of the part at a time, not try to do the whole thing at one time. It makes it a lot easier. Position the part into place. Note it's already tucked into that bottom rail, so I don't have to worry about doing that. It's already positioned. And since I dry fit this part, I'd realized where it belonged and how it was going to fit. Now it's going to fit flush up against the other parts. Now pull the part back. The glue has dried on the bottom portion, so it's made it available to pull it back. Glue the metal and the foam, leaving a 1-inch gap there on the top hand side. Pressing the part upwards to get it into position, and working the part up the whole time so no wrinkles develop. Pressing it up into place, getting underneath that ledge with the screwdriver. The back panel portion, there's two parts. I cut a slice in here for this wire, and this part is velcroed in, so you can remove it down the road however you'd like. And the other part is glued in. Now we're going to cut out the hole for the ashtray, put the ashtray in. Manuals, kick panel. We're going to put this dash assembly in with the 2 bolts on the side and the 2 bolts on the front. Fairly simple. Put the manuals back in, seat, clean it up with some adhesive remover or lacquer thinner or any glue over spray. And ladies and gentlemen, this cab kit is complete. We have a new cab inside. Thank you from Fehr Cab Interiors, and good luck to you.